Welcome back to Cash and Sass, the podcast where we ditch the shame, talk real numbers, and build bold, bankable wealth without sacrificing who we are. I'm your host, Lisa Marie, fractional CFO, wealth mentor, and the sassy wealth queen behind Transcendent Wealth Co. And if you're ready to scale with strategy, own your power, and finally feel wealthy in every sense of the word, then you're in the right place. We are talking about protection, legal protection, structural protection, energetic protection, and why so many heart-led, purpose-driven, brilliant entrepreneurs are skipping all three and leaving themselves dangerously exposed in the process. This episode is called You Need to Protect Your Baby at All Costs. So why aren't you protecting your business? And if you've been operating without solid contracts, a proper business structure, or clear boundaries around what you've built, then this one is for you. All right, let's get into it. So here is something I see constantly with the women I work with and some men I work with as well. They are making money, real money. They have built something that matters, a client base, a reputation, an offer suite, a brand. They have poured years of their life, their energy, their creativity, and their heart into what they have created. And then I can ask them about their contracts, and I get silence. I ask about their business structure. Are they operating as a sole proprietor, an LLC, an S corp? Blank stare. I ask about their intellectual property, their payment terms, their refund policies, their scope of work agreements. And 9 times out of 10, what I hear is some version of, I know I need to handle that. I just haven't gotten around to it. I know I shouldn't be commingling my funds, but I just haven't really dealt with it yet. And y'all, I get it. I understand, okay? When you're building, there's always something more urgent competing for your attention. The next client, the next launch, the next piece of content. But here's the thing. And I understand that a lot of times protection feels like something you'll get to when things slow down. But honestly, does it ever slow down? I've never had it slow down for me. And I'm 10 years in. So I don't think it really does. And here's the thing. And the moment something goes wrong, been there, done this, by the way, a client dispute, a missed payment, a scope of work that spiraled completely out of control, someone using your content or your framework without permission, the absence of protection becomes extremely expensive very, very fast. Okay? Making money and protecting money are not the same skill, and both of them are required if you really, truly want to build something that lasts. Now, I want to talk about the real reason this happens, okay? Because it's not just about being too busy. There's something deeper going on. So many of the women and some of the men that I work with are what I call heart-led entrepreneurs. They built their businesses because they genuinely care about the people they serve. Their work is personal. Their relationships with clients often feel very personal. And because of that, introducing things like contracts, legal agreements can feel, and I want you to really hear this, like they're signaling distrust. Okay. Eh, So often we think, oh, it's saying I don't trust you to someone that you genuinely like and want to help. So they skip the contract, or they make a verbal contract, or they have a contract, but it is really something that will actually protect you. Okay. So instead, they send an invoice without a scope of agreement. They start a coaching relationship without clearly defined terms because it feels warmer, more aligned, more human. And we all just love each other and trust each other. And what's the worst that can happen? Okay. I need to say this with love, but I also want to make sure I say it very clearly. Y'all, this is not warmth. That is fear dressed up as kindness. Because what you are actually communicating, whether you mean to or not, is that what you have built is not worth protecting. That your time, your expertise, your intellectual property, your financial well-being are all negotiable. And I ran into this myself in my business not very long ago. And I know for a fact that I care about my business and my business is worth protecting. However, what I was doing was saying it wasn't. And when we say that our well-being and all are negotiable, that is other people's comforts that mean more than your own security. Okay. So I want to challenge that directly. A contract does not say, I don't trust you. Instead, a contract says, I value what I bring to this relationship enough to make sure we are both clear on what it is. A contract protects both parties. It protects the client and it protects the coach, the service provider, whoever. It sets expectations. It prevents misunderstandings. It gives everyone involved a shared understanding of what is and being agreed upon before emotions even get involved. Y'all, that's not distrust, that's professionalism. And is one of the most loving things you can do for a client relationship because it removes the ambiguity that causes problems down the road, right? I use this analogy with my clients, and I'm going to use it here with you as well. Because honestly, I've never had anyone argue with it. And it was actually used with me. If you have a child, or if you can imagine having one, think about the lengths you would go to protect that child. You would not let just anyone into their life without knowing who they are. You would put up guardrails. You would set boundaries. You would have non-negotiables. You would not leave their safety to chance and hope for the best. You would protect them fiercely without apology. Now I want you to think about your business. Some built it from nothing. All of you have poured your time, your money, your sleepless nights, your creativity, your courage, and your belief into it. I know I built mine from nothing. Okay. It provides for you. It serves people. It is the vehicle for everything you are trying to build. So my question is, why are you protecting it like it's disposable? Why are you leaving it exposed to chargebacks, client disputes, and legal liability with nothing in place to defend what you've created? Your business deserves the same fierce, unapologetic protection you would give anything else you love. And y'all, protection is not just legal, it's structural, it's energetic. Okay? Legal protection means your contracts, your payment terms, your refund policies, your intellectual property. Structural protection means your business is set up correctly, where it's aligned with your values and your goals and where you're at, that you have the right entity structure, that your personal assets are separated from your business assets, which means you are not commingling funds, okay? Where it protects your personal assets so that you're not all personally liable for everything your business does. And then you have energetic protection. This means you have decided clearly and consciously what you will and will not tolerate in your business, what kind of clients you work with, what your boundaries are around your time, your access, and your expertise. Okay. And this is where a lot of times we end up falling off because energetic protection is also a financial strategy. And a lot of times we forget to protect that energy and have those boundaries. Here's the thing. Every draining client, every blurred boundary, every unpaid scope of work is a leak. And leaks, just like interest, compound. Okay. So I want to get practical with you because I do not want you leaving this episode with awareness and no action. That's not how I work. Y'all know that. So step one, if you don't have a contract, get a contract, a real one. If you are currently operating without one, this is your most urgent move. Do not use a template you found on Pinterest 2 years ago, 3 years ago, however long ago. Honest to goodness, please don't do that. You want a proper, legally sound contract that covers your scope of work, your payment terms, what happens if a client wants to exit, what happens if a payment is missed, and who owns the work product. Y'all, there are legal resources specifically designed for entrepreneurs. There are attorneys who specialize in small business and online business law. I work with one, okay? And the investment, I promise you, is far smaller than the cost of one bad client situation without protection in place. And that I can attest to because that's how I got my attorney in the first place. Because I didn't think about it. I had that ego mentality of, oh, I do everything. I've got my T's crossed and my I's dotted. I'm okay. And guess what? I wasn't. Okay. The contract was not as sounding as it should have been. It was there, it was good, but it wasn't great. Now I've made sure everything is. Okay. Do this first, do it this week. Okay. If you need a referral, you can go and ask someone, or like you can message me and I will send you a couple that you can go talk to and you can see who is aligned for you. But get an attorney to help you. Okay. Step 2, know your business structure and make sure it is the right one for where you are. Okay. I cannot state this enough, and I know this is probably not what most people will agree with me. Don't go and just do an S corp just to do an S corp, please. Okay? You need to know how you're operating. Are you operating as a sole proprietor? That means your personal assets and your business assets are legally the same thing unless you have an LLC, okay? And that's a totally different thing. I'm not getting into all the legality of that, okay? Um, an LLC will create a legal separation between you and your business. Yes, with the IRS, you're still considered a sole proprietor. However, in the state, you have what they call your personal assets are it's called limited liability, okay? It's not complicated to get set up. It's not very expensive to set it up, and for most entrepreneurs, it's truly a foundational piece of protection that should be in place from the beginning. You do not necessarily have to go and get an S corp, okay? Which is what a lot of CPAs or business attorneys may recommend at first. I don't. And the reason why is because even though, yes, in the long term, it will protect you tax money wise, when you're first starting out, it doesn't necessarily do that unless you're making thousands of dollars right off the bat. Okay. You want to make sure you're doing something that's smart for you and that whoever you're working with and who's going to give you advice isn't just going to immediately tell you, oh, go sign up for an S Corp. And they're not going to explain to you why and also explain to you what it's going to cost you right from the beginning. Okay. I'm not going to get into all the legal things. I am not a tax professional. I do, however, know what is required if you become an S Corp. And that is you have to be put on payroll. And if you're not on payroll, you cannot take an owner distribution. Okay. As a LLC or a sole proprietor, you can take a distribution, right? You do not have to be put on payroll. You also only file one tax return. If you're an S Corp, you're going to file two. One's going to be due in March, which is the business informational, and then your personal in April. Again, that's extra money. And when you look at it of what it's costing you to do those two things, if the money you're going to save at first when you're starting your business is not extremely more, it doesn't make sense. I have a tax professional who works with me every year, and she's told me, no, do not become an S Corp. Stay here until we get to this point. So you see what I'm saying? I've got someone who's got my back, who knows what she's doing, and she's going to look after help me determine when it's best. Again, have somebody. It's worth every single penny to have someone who's going to talk to you and also talk to you about your business and where you're at currently, not just say this is the best way to do it. Okay? Step 3, do an energetic protection audit. Now, what do I mean? This one doesn't require an attorney. Honestly, it requires honesty. It requires you to look at your current client relationships and ask yourself, where do I not have clear agreements in place? Where am I tolerating something I agreed to because nothing was documented? Where am I doing work outside of the scope and not charging for it because there is nothing in writing that defines what the scope is? Every one of those gaps is a place where your business is exposed. And closing them is not just a legal move, it's a wealth move. Because what you protect, you get to keep. And what you leave unprotected is always at risk. Y'all, here's what I know after years of working with women entrepreneurs as a fractional CFO and a wealth mentor. The legal and structural pieces of your business can feel very overwhelming until someone walks through them with you. And the energetic pieces, the boundaries, the client dynamics, the places where you've been too nice for too long, those are even harder to untangle on your own because they're loaded with emotion. This is exactly the kind of work we do together in my 2-week Money Movz Voxer Coaching. Okay. For 2 full weeks, you get direct access to me through Voxer. We look at your business holistically, not just your revenue, but your protection, your structure, your gaps, the places where what you've built is exposed, and how to close those gaps strategically. Because building wealth is not just about making more money. Okay. It's about making sure what you make actually stays yours. So, if today's episode woke something up for you, if you realize there are places in your business right now that are unprotected, do not sit on that realization. The link to learn more and to book the Money Movz Voxer Coaching is in the show notes. Go, click the link, and let's get started, okay? You've worked too hard to leave what you've built unprotected. Let's make sure it's secure. And as I always say, until next time, remember, confidence and cash are the ultimate power duo. Go check in with your money, and as always, have a fantastic and wealthy day.